I think Mala has gone out for some function, so don't doubt whether she will join.
जय जय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी ॐ ज्ञानातिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरू श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साधैकं सावधीतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रसादते प्रभुपादिके श्री गिरिराजाय स्वामी सुभद्रा राधादास बिहारी भक्तवत्सल श्रीपदा कृष्ण प्रसादते श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी की नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणी निर्विशेष शून्य मुखं करोति वाचालं वन्दे श्री गुरुदीनकारिणं Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Shrimad Bhagavatam. So we are in the introduction. So this is we were reading about the meeting of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with Rai Ramananda. And very, very briefly, Srila Prabhupada has given some discussion, not much, because actually it's huge, very, very much huge. And Prabhupada dares say that above these topics discussed by the Lord, I'm on page 30, second paragraph in my book. So it's a discussion about between Rai Ramananda and Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Srila Prabhupada has summarized in this introduction to Shrimad Bhagavatam. So just find it in your book. I don't know where it is in your book. In mine is on page 30. So about these topics discussed by the Lord and Shri Ramananda Rai, there were still more elevated spiritual talks between the two great personalities, and we purposely withhold these topics for the present because one has to come to the spiritual plane before further talks with Ramananda Rai can be heard. We have presented further talks of Srila Ramananda Rai with the Lord in another book, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So we had recommended that please read Teachings of Lord Chaitanya if you don't have the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita, at least the small book, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, we must read. So, so the point that was made in this section is that it is imperative, I'm reading the top of the page, it is imperative, therefore, that one sincerely seek the association of pure devotees and hear them patiently and submissively from any position of life. The position of a person in the higher or lower status of life does not hamper one in the path of self-realization. The only thing one has to do is to hear from a self-realized soul with a routine program. The teacher may also deliver lectures from the Vedic literatures, following in the footsteps of the bygone acharyas who realized the absolute truth. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended the simple method of self-realization, generally known as Bhagavad Dharma. Srimad Bhagavatam is the perfect guide for this purpose. So the reason why Srila Prabhupada has included this passage, so remember with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was removing the misunderstanding, misconception about the absolute truth. And with Rai Ramananda, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or Srila Prabhupada is pushing the point that we need the association of devotees. Like all of us here, we have gathered to read Prabhupada's books and read his purport, read the original Sanskrit, so that we can achieve self-realization. So I'm not going to elaborate on all these points because when we start reading the book, so much will be said. I'm just reading the summary that Prabhupada has written here. All right, Ashwini, can you read the next paragraph at the conclusion of this meeting?
Okay. Thank you, Mataji. At the conclusion of this meeting, Sri Ramananda Rai was advised by the Lord to retire from service and come to Puri so that they could live together and relish the transcendental relationship. Some time later, Sri Ramananda Rai retired from the government service and took a pension from the king. He returned to his residence in Puri, where he was one of the most confidential devotee of the Lord. There was another gentleman at Puri of the name Mahiti, Sikhi Mahiti, who was also confident like Ramananda Rai. The Lord used to hold confidential talks on spiritual values with 3 or 4 companions at Puri, and he passed 18 years in that way in spiritual trance. His talks were recorded by his private secretary Damodar Goswami, one of the 4 most intimate devotees. The Lord extensively traveled all over the southern part of India. The great saint of Maharashtra, known as Sant Tukaram, was also initiated by the Lord. Sant Tukaram, after initiation by the Lord, overflooded the whole of the Maharashtra province with the Sankirtan movement, and the transcendental flow is still rolling on in the southwestern part of the great Indian peninsula.
Yes, so those from Maharashtra knew about this, right? The Lord extensively traveled all over the southern part of India. And the great saint of Maharashtra, known as Saint Tukaram. Sorry.
But Mataji, there is a time difference.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
There is a time difference. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there during 14th century, 1486. Tukaram was born in 16, but they say he was in 1600. So it's like, in his dream or
1600?
1600, yeah.
Oh. The great Seda Maharashtra known as Saint Tukaram was also initiated. Oh, okay. Well, what I heard, all these, he accepted, the movement of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
this
Okay.
is what I
Okay.
heard.
Okay.
Just like all of us, right? We are
Understood.
initiated in the movement of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, isn't it? Hmm? Yeah, so that's amazing. So the great saint of Maharashtra known as Saint Tukaram was also initiated by the Lord. Saint Tukaram, after initiation by the Lord, overflooded the whole of the Maharashtra province with a Sankirtan movement. And that's why, right, we find this Kirtan, like now Vittala, right? It's the festival.
Jai Hari Vithala.
Hmm?
They keep singing Jai Hari Vithala.
Jai Hari Vittala.
Hari Vithala.
And they have this, what you call it, that small kartal? What you call that? That type, they play
Chipari.
chipari? Yeah,
Something like that.
who's
Uh,
from Maharashtra here? Even knows.
I am Maharashtrian.
You're Maharashtrian, oh my God.
But I don't remember now
Yeah,
what is it
so
called.
they do this, they play this. When they chant Vithala. All right, continue.
The Lord excavated from South India two very important old literatures, namely, uh, namely the Brahma Samhita and Krishna Karnamrita. These two valuable books are authorized studies for the person in devotional line. The Lord then returned to Puri after his South India tour. On his return to Puri, all the anxious devotees of the Lord got back their life, and the Lord remained there with continued pastimes of his transcendental realizations. The most important incident during that time was his granting audience to King Prataprudra. King Prataprudra was a great devotee of the Lord, and he considered himself to be one of the servants of the Lord entrusted with sweeping the temple. This submissive attitude of the king was very much This submissive attitude of the king was very much appreciated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The king requested both Bhattacharya and Raya to arrange his meeting with the Lord. When, however, the Lord was petitioned by his two stalwart devotees, he flatly refused to grant the request, even though it was put forward by personal associates like Ramananda Rai and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. The Lord maintained that it is dangerous for a sannyasi to be in intimate touch with worldly money conscious men and with women. The Lord was an ideal sannyasi. No woman could approach the Lord even to offer respects. Women's seats were accommodated far away from the Lord. As an ideal teacher and acharya, he was very strict in the routine work of a sannyasi. Apart from being a divine incarnation, the Lord was an ideal character as a human being. His behavior with other persons was also above suspicion. In his dealing as Acharya, he was harder than the thunderbolt and softer than the rose. One of his associates, Junior Haridas, committed a great mistake by lustfully glancing at a young woman. The Lord, as a super soul, could detect this lust in the mind of Junior Haridas, who was at once banished from Lord's association and was never accepted again. Even though the Lord was implored to excuse Haridas for the mistake, Junior Haridas afterwards committed suicide due to being disassociated from the company of the Lord, and the news of suicide was duly relayed related to the Lord. Even at that time, the Lord was not forgetful of this offense. And he said that Haridas had rightly met with the proper punishment. Oh my God, so
Yeah.
sad.
Anyway, when we study Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, we will read more about this. So this Haridas, actually, he became a Gandharva. Because when he became a Gandharva, and he will come to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he will recite so many beautiful songs about Krishna. Hmm?
Oh,
Yes, yes. So see, like Mahaprabhu was setting the standard in society, but internally he accepted him. Yeah, but externally he was showing the proper behavior. All right, so Anupama Madhvi, you want to read?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known as the mercy, ocean of mercy, right, Mataji? And
Yes.
here he is not forgiving him for his offense.
Yes. So
Why?
we just read he was softer than a rose and harder than a thunderbolt. Yeah. He was harder than the thunderbolt and softer than the rose. So when his Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was extremely strict. He didn't want to be loose. He really didn't want to be like, okay, everything can let chalta hai, like they say in Hindi, let it go, let it go. You know? So he was very strict in order to set the standard that no, sannyasis must behave properly. But as I just mentioned, this disciple, Haridas, Junior Haridas, when he committed suicide, he became a Gandharva. He didn't become a ghost as such. He became a Gandharva. And when he became a Gandharva, he was singing. Every night, he used to come to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he will sing very beautifully for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so he was still in the company of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it's continuing. So sometimes, like a teacher is very harsh for the public eye in order not to let this be the norm. But in a personal level, like he actually he forgave him and allowed him to progress.
Yes, got it, Mataji. Thank you.
Yeah, see, it is we are in a very, very, very difficult situation in this world. On the one hand, we are fallen souls, so many anarthas, so many obstacles, and then we are dealing with the public. So there is public image, public example, and on the other hand, there is the personal life, So gurus, GBCs, they're always in that dilemma. They're always between what is good for the society and what is good for the person. So these are always a tug of war, tug of war, tug of war. And so here Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he behaved that way. And actually, Srila Prabhupada had a disciple. He had a disciple, he was a sannyasi. And somehow he asked Prabhupada this question that if a sannyasi think of women, what he should do. Prabhupada said he should commit suicide, And then one day the sannyasi disappeared. And then they said that he had committed suicide, So when the news came to Srila Prabhupada, he was very upset. He was very upset. He said he shouldn't have done this. So he said there are other things to do, which we are going to study gradually, especially in the 6th canto in Nectar of Devotion. There are other things to do. And that's how Srila Prabhupada, he saved his movement. So Srila Prabhupada, he set up the movement according to the principles of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he was also extremely liberal in applying the principles of devotional service. It's a science, how to elevate somebody. So that's how when his sannyasis fell down, he picked them up. He didn't just let them go. He said, all right, you can enter Grihastha ashram, especially they were young men who took sannyas. So he allowed them. He said, you took that you enter Grihastha life and you live according to this principle. It's not highly praised, but it is not condemned that your spiritual life is finished. The main purpose is that we should continue to progress. So this is possible only in the system of Bhakti Yoga, which is extremely powerful. At the same time, here, the instruction is being given that if you have taken sannyas, you have to be very careful. You have to be extremely careful. You cannot be negligent. Because there are heavy, heavy consequences. Well, basically, breaking the regulative principle means that we still carry on in this material world. So this woman, see, he was, Junior Haridas. Yes, so he went to beg, and Junior Haridas, he went to beg rice from the householder's home. And so when the woman was giving him rice, he glanced at her with lust. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Haridas, Junior Haridas came back to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he could see that this man is disturbed. You know? I mean, it's so subtle. He could see that this sannyasi has had some lusty thoughts. So that's why he chastised him. And the Lord, as super soul, could detect this lust in the mind of Junior Haridas, was at once banished from the Lord's association, meaning that, see, we are already reading how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he chose his companions, right? He chose Rai Ramananda. He chose Sikhi Mahiti. Then he chose Sri Damodar Goswami. I don't know who else, and said four devotees. So these were his confidence. I think it is Sikhi Mahiti's sister, who was also considered as one of the most intimate devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he chose. He chose who were his most intimate devotees. But he didn't tolerate. So he didn't tolerate so many things. We should study Chaitanya Charitamrita also, but we'll go step by step. All right. Who's reading?
Yes, Mataji, I'll read Mataji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. On the principles of the renounced order of life and discipline, the Lord knew no compromise. And therefore, even though he knew that the king was a great devotee, he refused to see the king only because the king was a dollar and cent man. By this example, the Lord wanted to emphasize the proper behavior for a transcendentalist. A transcendentalist has nothing to do with women and money. He must always refrain from such intimate relations. The king was, however, favored by the Lord by the expert arrangement of the devotees. This means that the beloved devotee of the Lord can favor a neophyte more liberally than the Lord. Pure devotees therefore never commit an offense at the feet of another pure devotee. An offense at the lotus feet of the Lord is sometimes excused by the merciful Lord, but an offense at the feet of a devotee is very dangerous for one who actually wants to make progress in devotional service.
So these are, if I'm just listening to His Holiness Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj, his lectures on his like a structural overview of Srimad Bhagavatam. So he was discussing the seventh canto. So he was speaking about this, how in the lives of people, including the devotees, we find there are obstacles in their lives. And like obstacles, like mental blocks, emotional blocks, and so many things. And he was speaking about this is due to offenses that we have accumulated in previous lives. And he was speaking about how, like the four Kumaras cursed with Jay and Vijay, right? So he was saying that these offenses that we commit knowingly or unknowingly, meaning that deliberately or by negligence, so all these deposit something in our psyche. And therefore, Maharaj was saying that even a devotee can develop a demoniac mentality simply by offenses. So here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he refused to see the king because he said, I don't want to see kings. And again, we find that Prabhupada, he welcomed the women and he preached to kings, government officers, right? To kings. He did both. Why? Because Prabhupada was Goshthianandi. He was preaching. And here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was Bhajananandi. He was just absorbing a bhajan. His preaching was in a different way. Whereas Srila Prabhupada went down to the, very fallen condition of the world. He went there to pick them up. So therefore, here, the king was, however, favored by the Lord by the expert arrangement of the devotee. This means that the beloved devotee of the Lord can favor a neophyte more liberally than the Lord. Meaning that the Lord is not liberal, but Prabhupada, he was more liberal. So he brought up, people from everywhere, anywhere. He gave opportunity to the women, and he gave opportunity to kings. So pure devotees therefore never commit an offense at the feet of another pure devotee. Pure devotee therefore never commits an offense at the lotus feet of another pure devotee. An offense at the lotus feet of the Lord is sometimes excused by the merciful Lord. But an offense at the feet of a devotee is very dangerous for one who actually wants to make progress in devotional service. Why is it dangerous? Because our lifeline, our only hope for deliverance is the pure devotee. And if we disobey them, or we belittle them, or we bypass them, thinking we are more advanced, we know better than them in other things, it can be very risky. Offenses can be done in many, many ways. So therefore, to be humble and to remain humble, at the same time, not a fool. I mean, a fool in terms of reaching, being dynamic in promoting the cause of Krishna consciousness, but at the same time, submissive and humble and obedient. These are very, anyway, only by the grace of the Lord, by prayer, that we can do this. All right, who wants to read next? Who wants to read? Okay, Anupama Mishra.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, I wanted to ask, what does this line mean? The king was, however, favored by the Lord by the expert arrangement of the devotees.
Yeah, you will have to read the story in Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Should I read, Mataji?
Yes.
As long as the Lord remained at Puri, thousands of his devotees used to come to see him during the Rath Yatra car festival of Lord Jagannath. And during the car festival, the washing of the Gundicha temple under the direct supervision of the Lord was an important function. The Lord's congregational Sankirtana movement at Puri was a unique exhibition for the mass of people. That is the way to turn the mass mind towards spiritual realization. The Lord inaugurated the system of mass sankirtana, and leaders of all countries can take advantage of this spiritual movement in order to keep the mass of people in a pure state of peace and friendship with one another. This is now the demand of the present human society all over the world.
Yes, so this Rath Yatra. So here, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so he observed the Rath Yatra, and here, in this particular paragraph, Prabhupada is giving the purpose of this Rath Yatra. So the purpose is, so the Lord's Congregation Sankirtan movement actually was a unique exhibition for the mass of people, and this is what Srila Prabhupada taught his disciples, that the Rath Yatra is a mass, it's a what? An exhibition. No? It's a it is a unique exhibition for the mass of people. That is the way to turn the mass mind towards spiritual realization. So it's not just like a Hindu festival, like a taking the deities out, and it's a ritual or whatever. It's not this. Even though, and that's the misunderstanding that is going on right now between ISKCON and the Puri Rath Yatra. You get it? The Puri Rath Yatra is a completely upset with ISKCON. Why is it that we are putting out that Rath Yatra at different times of the year? So they really they locked onto us in India. They forced us that we should have the Rath Yatra at the same time as the Puri Rath Yatra. And so much discussion was going on, like it completely spoiled our program. Why? Because they want the Rath Yatra in June now, when it is pouring in Bombay. It's pouring, it's the monsoon. See, there also it is monsoon, but it's not like the monsoon here, which is just a coastal area. Right? Bombay is just a coastal area, meaning the monsoon is just pouring. And we used to have 3-day festival. We used to have huge pandal, and we will feed prasadam to thousands and thousands and thousands. Such a festival, we couldn't do it anymore. We couldn't do it anymore. We used to have 3 Rath. We had to have only 1 Rath. So this is the difference between, ordinary festivals and the mind of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Right? So for them, it's just a festival. It is a leela, it's a drama. Right? We all know. We enjoy it. We really enjoy it. It's beautiful. But Mahaprabhu was also had a different idea that this Rath Yatra is a unique exhibition for the mass of people. That is the way to turn the mass mind towards spiritual realization. So it's a preaching means which others cannot understand. And worse now with the Puri, Thereafter ISKCON that we should also apply the same rule in outside India. Pushing us. So the Lord inaugurated this system of mass Sankirtan, and leaders of all countries can take advantage of this spiritual movement in order to keep the mass of people in a pure state of peace and friendship with one another. This is now the demand of the present human society all over the world. So now you can understand why Srila Prabhupada was successful in, in, uh, in propagating Krishna consciousness, in exporting the movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world, and why the Puri people could never do it, right? Isn't it? Is there anyone in this entire India who could inaugurate a festival, the Puri, the Rath Yatra festival in the world? Because Srila Prabhupada understood Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's motivation. Therefore, without hesitation, he opened up the Rath Yatra in the Western world and didn't worry about whether it's a month of Chaitra or whatever. He just saw what is the occasion. It's summer in Europe. This time is good. In Bombay, this time is good. Right? Time, place, and circumstances. So, what to do? Obstacle in propagation of Krishna consciousness. Yes, tell me, Ashwini.
It burns our heart, Mataji, to see them not realize, not understand that Srila Prabhupada has made this Rath Yatra and made Jagannath Puri and Jagannath so famous all over the world. Rather than appreciating that, they in fact, 2009, they burnt effigy of Srila Prabhupada for that purpose. So demoniac. I mean, it's so sad to see this.
So now we understand what is Rath Yatra. Prabhupada has summarized it here. So Prabhupada is saying the Lord inaugurated this system of mass Sankirtan. He inaugurated this system of mass Sankirtan, and leaders of all countries can take advantage of this spiritual movement in order to keep the mass of people in a pure state of peace, friendship with one another. All right, Rashmi.
Yes, Mataji. After some time, the Lord again started on his tour towards northern India, and he decided to visit Vrindavan and its neighboring places. He passed through the jungles of Jharkhand, Madhya Bharat, and also joined his Sankirtan movement. The wild tigers, elephants, bears, and deer all together accompanied the Lord, and the Lord accompanied them in Sankirtan. By this, he proved that by the propagation of the Sankirtan movement, congregational chanting, and glorifying of the name of the Lord, even the wild animals can live in peace and friendship. What to speak of men who are supposed to be civilized? No man in the world will refuse to join the Sankirtan movement, nor is the Lord Sankirtan movement restricted to any caste, creed, color, or species. Here is direct evidence of his great mission. He allowed even the wild animals to partake in his great movement.
Yes, so peace in the world. So if nothing else, in nothing else, peace and friendship. If nothing else, now this is for the masses. So this Sankirtan movement, meaning that when we are having this Harinam in whatever way, whether it is Rath Yatra or whatever way, right? So the more this Harinam is propagated, especially mass movement, because a yagya, right? We say we do yagya for Shanti, right? We say Om Shanti, 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 right? When we do yagya. So this chanting of the holy name, this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, chanting of this holy name will bring this peace and friendship, if nothing else. And those who are more fortunate, who are more ready to take it more deeply, for them, they can go on an exponential progress. Back home, back to Godhead. All right, Bhanu, you like to read, Bhanu? Bhanu, you would like to read?
Hare Krishna Master. On his way back to Vrindavan, he first came to Prague, where he first met Rup Goswami along with his younger brother Anapanna. Then he came down to Banaras. For 2 months, he instructed Sri Sanatan Goswami in his transcendental science. In the instruction Sanatan Goswami is in itself a long narration, and full presentation of the instruction was not possible here. The main ideas are given as follows. Sanatan Goswami, formerly known as Sakara Malika, was in the cabinet service of the Bengal government under the regime of Nawab Hussain Shah. He decided to join with the Lord and thus retired from the service. On his way back from Vrindavan, when he reached Varanasi,
Varanasi.
the Lord became the guest of Sri Tapanna Mistra and Chandrashiki Hari, assisted by Maharashtra's Brahmanas. At that time, Varanasi was headed by a great sannyasi of the Mayavadi school named Sri Pada Prakash Ananda Saraswati. When the Lord was at Varanasi, the people in general became more attracted to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the account of his mass Sankirtan movement. Wherever he visited, especially the Vashwanath temple, thousands of pilgrims would follow him. Some were attracted by his bodily features, and others were attracted by his melodious songs and glorifying the Lord.
Yes, so this is in Varanasi. So this Vishwanath temple, that temple was demolished, wasn't it? It's a temple of Lord Shiva. That temple was demolished. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he visited that temple. Has it been rebuilt? It's been rebuilt.
Yes, Mataji, it
Yeah.
was built by Ahilya Bai Holkar.
Oh,
She
okay.
had got it rebuilt.
Yeah, I heard all the temples kept on being demolished, and somebody will come back and rebuild the temple. Amazing.
So, Mataji, if you allow, I will just, I recently visited Varanasi.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and so what happened? I just read that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to also visit one Bindu Madhav temple. So this Bindu Madhav temple, then when I read some history books, when I was there, I got some history books of Varanasi, and one French person, he has written that Bindu Madhav temple was the biggest temple that time. Bandhu Madhav and Vishwanath, both were very big temple. But Aurangzeb demolished it. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to, when he was in Varanasi, he used to Every day he would go to Bindu Madhav temple. It was right at the bank of Varanasi. Vishwanath temple is little inside. So that was demolished by Aurangzeb in 1694 or something, and that was not rebuilt. Whereas Vishwanath temple was rebuilt. So this time when I went to this, I looked for, it's a small temple. I looked for it, and I went. It is a small temple. Next to that temple, there's a big mosque, which is so that probably that mosque was where the Bindu Madhav temple was. Then I was just reading on the top the history. I just happened to sit there and chant one round because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu every day used to visit that place. And I read on the top that Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, he took 4,000 Brahmanas from Maharashtra, and when the Bindu Madhav temple was demolished, the pujari had kept the deity in the water. In a they hidden the deity for 3 years in the water, and then Shivaji Maharaj went there in 1673. The timelines I don't now exactly remember. With 4,000 Maharashtrian Brahmanas, and he rebuilt that temple. Maybe he couldn't, because Aurangzeb was still ruling, he could not build it to the big temple, but that small temple was. And then Maharashtrian Brahmins, so this reference came, Maharashtrian Brahmins, that's why I also remembered that. Then 4,000 Maharashtrian Brahmins are settled now. And Bindu Madhav temple is also Pujari's Maharashtrian Brahmin. So I mean, I was so, being Maharashtrian, I felt so good that, and they could speak to me in Marathi and all. And the temple is there, small temple. I wish now sometime it again gets back its own glory. Maybe ISKCON or something.
Yeah, but so that's the point about the Sankirtan movement. That temples can be demolished, but you cannot stop the chanting of the holy name, because everybody's tongue can be the temple, right? If you're the reason why there are temples. Actually, I also, when this Ram Lala temple was rebuilt, then so many, as you are saying, history, devotees, somehow they were just popping up on YouTube. And so I also heard a lot about, I mean, I never read or wanted to know about all this, but somehow everything was pouring out. It was just pouring out everywhere. So then I started hearing about the whole history, So the temples actually had multiple purposes. It was the worship of the deity, but it was the entire Vedic culture that was centered around the temple. Varnashram dharma. Each and every samskar was centered in the temple. And the temple were also the treasury of the country. It's actually the treasury of the country. And that's why these temples were plundered, because they were the treasury. So here we have just heard now when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came during that reign, the Mughal reign, right? Mahaprabhu appeared during the Mughal reign when all those disasters were happening, right? And when finally, so Mahaprabhu came in the 15th century, right? 15th century. So right in the middle of the Mughal reign. So he inaugurated this Harinam Sankirtan, mass Sankirtan, because the leaders were gone. The Brahmanas were gone, right? Who was left? Who was left? It's only the chanting of the holy name. So Mahaprabhu came and said, okay, now the people, it's not easy to capture such a large population. You can be, you can capture the temples, you can capture this, but you cannot capture the people. Because the people, you can't change the people. So therefore, Mahaprabhu had mass sankirtan. So even though Mahaprabhu's preaching was like he aimed, you could say, the scholars, and he established his philosophy, but he inaugurated mass sankirtan for the innocent people. So this was very, very well. See, the Supreme Lord is very supremely intelligent. There can be nobody more intelligent than the Supreme Lord. So while, violent, brutal people, they could just demolish, a monument, they couldn't understand that within that monument, there is the chanting of the holy name, which can still be propagated without a monument. So this is why Srila Prabhupada, when he went to the West, he didn't lay emphasis on building temples. He laid emphasis on Rath Yatra, on Harinam Sankirtan, all these festivals. All the festivals are meant to propagate Harinam. Yes, all right. Okay. So I'm seeing someone, Devanshi, that's Devanshi. Yeah, would you like to read? Are you able to read? Would you like to read? You can unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Okay, I've just unmuted myself.
All right, yes.
So which paragraph am I reading?
The Mayavadi sannyasis.
Yeah, that's what I've got. The Mayavadi sannyasis designate themselves as Narayana. Varanasi is still overflooded with many Mayavadi sannyasis. Some people who saw the Lord in his Sankirtana party considered him to be actually Narayana, and this report reached the camp of the great sannyasi Prakasananda. In India, there is always a kind of spiritual rivalry between the Mayavadi and the Bhagavata schools, and thus, when the news of the Lord reached Prakasananda, he knew that the Lord was a Vaishnav sannyasi, and therefore he minimized the value of the Lord before those who brought him the news. He deprecated the activities of the Lord because of his preaching the Sankirtana movement, which was, in his opinion, nothing but religious sentiment. Prakansanda was a profound student of the Vedanta, and he advised his followers to give attention to the Vedanta and not to indulge in Sankirtana.
Yeah. So now just see again how risky it is if India was only about Vedanta. Where would we be today? Right? We are struggling to understand one simple introduction to Srila Bhagavatam, right? We are reading again and again. We're struggling now. If spiritual life will consist only of Vedanta, who will be liberated? Who will attain peace and friendship? If we were dependent on temples, monuments, right? So brutal people, thieves, plunderers, right? They don't understand the value of a monument. So if we were dependent on all these factors, where would we be today, right? So here Prakashanananda Saraswati, he's thinking, oh, they are just religious sentiment. In his opinion, was just religious sentiment. right? But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the greatest scholar of all, could defeat this Mayavadi sannyasi and sure he's not a religious sentimentalist. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada said that besides chanting, the devotee should also know Shastra. We may not go and, and you have a contest with a Mayavadi scholar, but at least the ordinary people, we should be able to answer their questions, right? And we ourselves, we should be convinced about Krishna, about Bhagavad Dharma. So in India, there's always a kind of spiritual rivalry between the Mayavad and Bhagavad schools. Yeah, continue.
One devotee, Brahmana, who became a devotee of the Lord, did not like the criticism of the Prakasana, and he went to the Lord to express his regrets. He told the Lord that when he uttered the Lord's name before the sannyasi Prakasandana, the latter strongly criticized the Lord. Although the Brahmana heard Prakasana uttering several times the name Chaitanya, the Brahman was astonished to see that the sannyasi Prakasana could not vibrate the sound Krishna even once, although he uttered the name Chaitanya several times. The Lord smilingly explained to the devotee Brahma why the Mayavadi cannot utter the holy name of Krishna. The Mayavadis are offenders at the lotus feet of Krishna. Although they utter always Brahman, Atma, or Chaitanya, etc., and because they're offenders at the lotus feet of Krishna, they are actually unable to utter the holy name of Krishna. The name Krishna and the personality of Godhead Krishna are identical. There is no difference in the absolute realm between the name, form, or person of the absolute truth, because in the absolute realm, everything is transcendental bliss. There is no difference between the body and the soul for the personality of Godhead Krishna. Thus, he is different from the living entity who is always different from his outward body. Because of Krishna's transcendental position, it is very difficult for a layman to actually know the personality of Godhead Krishna, his holy name and fame, etc. His name, fame, form, and pastimes all are one and the same transcendental identity, and they are not knowable by the exercise of the material senses.
Yes, so now, so here, so this Prakashananda, he couldn't utter the name of Krishna. And actually, even till today, like, like, see, they teach this Hinduism in schools, in colleges, everywhere. And they don't like, like, if we give our books, they say, no, we are sectarian. Why? So they don't like to see that in our book we write the name of Krishna or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They don't like it. They can say God, they can say Brahman, they can say whatever, but they don't like when we say Krishna, when we write in our books that Krishna is the Supreme Person of Godhead. We don't write God and impersonal. Like, this is the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So when somebody had said God consciousness, Prabhupada said Krishna consciousness. So therefore, the idea is that, they are sectarians. So they can't utter the name of Krishna. So this is a fact. Till today, if you are to study Hinduism, they don't like the name of Krishna. All right, so thank you very much, Hare Krishna. Is there any more question, comment on this?
Mataji, when you talked about the Rath Yatra of Srila Prabhupada doing Rath Yatra abroad, Mataji, I was thinking that whatever he's doing in ISKCON, whether the books, the prasadam distribution, the deity worship, Everything is for preaching only.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even the exorbitant temples, they are for preaching only to attract. The open house of the classes, the free classes which happen at the temple center.
Yes, yes, and see, the thing is that Srila Prabhupada was following his science. And if we who are his followers, we gradually forget what Srila Prabhupada was doing, as you're saying, mentioning the temples also. If we forget the purpose for which the temples are being opened, we will become like these Hindus. Sorry to say it, like the Puri Rath Yatra is not allowing the preachers, right? Because this is a Hindu understanding, right? So if we also gradually, we don't study, we don't understand what Prabhupada is doing, very easily we can also become like the general people. So it's a really ingenious what Prabhupada has done to be able to understand the purpose of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Like we just read, Mahaprabhu was hard as a thunderbolt, soft as a rose. And Srila Prabhupada, even like he was so liberal, at the same time so strict. Like our regular principle, no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. You cannot take diksha. You cannot live in any of his temples if you don't follow these four little principles. Right? He was so strict about it because these are essential. These are the pillars of dharma. So he didn't bend those. But when people couldn't follow certain things, he accommodated them in different places. So that requires, Prabhupada says, organization and intelligence. In my Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada called Giriraj Swami. He asked, how will this movement go on? Because Prabhupada only 10 years was with his disciples. Only 10 years. So he called him when he was about to leave the body. He called him and asked him, how will this movement go on? He was in anxiety. How will this movement go on? And so Giriraj Swami said so many things. If we are sincere, I don't know what else more he said. Then Prabhupada said, intelligence and organization. So, where that intelligence will come from? Is it from my brain? Right? Is it going to come from my brain? So, if we study, we take the trouble, if we take the, see, we are just a simple group here. We are not managers, we are nothing, right? But we are reading. Prabhupada has put it in the book. He's explained what he wants, how it's done, why it's done. It's there for everybody, for the mass of people who are interested to read and understand.
Yeah.
You follow this? It's just like amazing. Amazing. I keep getting huge surprises whenever. See, actually, what's happening is that for me, I have heard all this and lived all this, and it's like natural for me. But as new and new more generation are coming, then they move things here, move things there, then we forget. And there he is, it's written in the book what Prabhupada is, what he means, what he wants us to do. So even though the new generation may come and push things around or change or they forget or whatever, Anybody who will open the book will read and can reset it. You follow? That's why Prabhupada said that my books are the law books for the next 10,000 years. Such an important, I'm pretty amazed by things that I knew naturally, even when I read this section about the Rath Yatra, I was hearing my Guru Maharaj speak about it. Like he was saying that the materialists, they put up big, huge billboards to advertise their product, to advertise their sense gratification. And my Guru said, and we have our Rath Yatra. Our advertisement was the Rath Yatra. And where he got that idea, because this is what Prabhupada put into their brain, right? Their understanding that Rath Yatra is mass preaching, it's mass sankirtan to bring peace and friendship among people, if nothing else. Right? I actually was hearing his voice, I was seeing him telling, I mean, this in Bhagavatam class, right here in Jubilee. So I was listening, I was hearing, and I said, oh, but here it is. Written. Prabhupada disciples, they are the embodiment of Srila Prabhupada's instructions. Those who didn't deviate. I have to add this. Those who carried out this movement and that we're still surviving, they are absolutely the embodiment of Prabhupada's instruction because they were children, they were so young. They were in their 20s, they were even younger. They were students. You know how students are like sponge, right? They accept, they don't change. And when Prabhupada said, don't change, they don't change. So anyway, what to do?
But Mataji, this, like Bhagavatam, but we may just read it, but we will just read it very, without even realizing what we are reading, unless we study it with somebody senior like yourself. It is very easily overlooked. I have read this section few times now, but I did not, like, really imbibe what was written there.
Yeah, because we have heard, we have lived, and we have heard. And like I just said, when I read this paragraph, immediately I remember my Guru was saying it, but I didn't understand why. Now I'm saying it. And it's not that I haven't read many times the Rath Yatra of Lord, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Rath Yatra festival. It's not that I haven't read it, but it didn't strike me. Until here in this introduction to Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada is saying it. Right? And then the whole mess has been created, by what to say, Others, now I understand. Now I understand why the Prabhupada disciples are so much struggling, why the GBC are so much struggling to get back our Rath Yatra. And when this time I was so sorry, there's no place to offer the prasadam. Such a huge crowd that walked the Rath Yatra, they come into the temple. Where will you serve prasad? This is obstacle in Harinam, in bringing peace and friendship in the world. Right? Prasadam remove the sinful reaction of the people. It's something very precious and rare. It's something most valuable. The general people will not come. But seeing this Rath Yatra, they walk with the Rath to the end. right? And there, the whole program is over. This is a yagya. Yagya means finish with prasadam. Right? It was pathetic. It was truly pathetic. Wherever they could serve prasad, they serve prasad. But the thousands that we used to, to give out, 3-day festival. Anyway, Jagannath has to do something about it. Right? I'm upset now that I have read this. Maybe they were winning me over, because they're actually very good souls. They're very good people. They're very cultured, highly cultured, and very much convinced about what they are saying, that there is something higher, which they don't know, and about which they couldn't be convinced. Why? Because of their perception. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada is very special. And that's why he was successful. Before him, his god brothers also tried. They couldn't do it. Srila Prabhupada could do it. Shakti Avesh. You have to be empowered to be able to do something like this. Shakti Avesh. So he was qualified to be the Shakti Avesh. All right, so anyway, it's always a struggle. It's Krishna's mission, Krishna's work is never easy. Right?
Mataji, just wanted to say one thing about Srila Prabhupada, that I didn't know this, or maybe that in one of the Puranas, which is that, not Bruhat Naradiya Purana, some Purana, there's a story that Ganga Mata goes to Krishna, and Krishna is just about to leave the body. And he says that, she says that, I am here, you are going, and so many now Kali Yuga will start, and so many people, all sinful people will take bathe in me, and I will be totally polluted. So she was feeling very sad. To him, Krishna said that, to her, Krishna said that, don't worry, after 5,000 years, out of my Nama, Nama, I mean, it's very strong devotee will come, and he'll turn entire world into, after 5,000 years of Kali Yuga, one great devotee will come, and he will turn entire world into devotees, and then they will bathe in you and they'll purify. So it may be that it's Srila Prabhupada.
One Senapati will come.
Senapati Bhakta is, I think, written by Sajjan Toshani in Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He said Nama Nama Vachaka or something. That word is there. I'm forgetting that word. So, anybody knows that which Purana it is written? I can find out.
But just see, even by reading the purport, we are appreciating Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Isn't it? After so many years, we are seeing what's going on. So the struggle to uphold the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always an honor. Always a challenge. But anyway.
And one very nice point you actually brought in today's discussion is that temples will go. I mean, this was new to me. The temples may be there, may not be there, but Nama, this temple can be on our tongue and it can go on.
Yes.
And we should give importance to that.
Yeah, and Jayapataka, he brought this out. His Holiness Jayapataka, he said this. Comes and go. even like yesterday, Richard Maharaj, he was giving the class. So I don't know, in Japan, you know. So in Japan, there was tsunami. And even in South India also, right, the tsunami. What does the tsunami do? It take away the temples, right? Temples goes in the ocean. And like in South India, so recently, after one tsunami, some old temple structure was rediscovered, right? So the passage of time is like this. These monuments, they go. So he was saying that a deity of Buddha in Japan, the deity of Buddha remains intact, but the temple was gone. You know, so in Shichari Mahaprabhu inaugurated the congregation Sankirtan movement, Harinam, because all the mantras that we are chanting is name of Vishnu. So the supreme name of Vishnu, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This particular combination of 16 words, 32 syllables, this particular yagya can be propagated from one home to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. Every town, every village, home to home. So that's why we should not stop chanting. At no cost should we stop chanting, because there'll be no temple for us. Right? COVID came, we were crying here in the temple. Radha Ras Bihari, so beautiful, but the temple was closed. Right? It was closed. If everybody didn't have Japa Mala, what will we have done? If we didn't have Bhagavatam at home, what will we do? Right? Is it a proof? It was war. It was wartime actually. All right, we're much over time.
But we got our association with you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare Krishna. So we meet next week.